Attention please. The event will begin soon. To all participants, please stand by and turn on your video camera using virtual background that's provided by the community. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The honorable speakers, Dr. Rahmatina Kasri, Director of Center for Islamic Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, Dr. Irfan Shauki Bey, Vice Chairman of Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists, the honorable panelists, Dr. Hidayat Amir, Head of the Center for Policy Research and Harmonization, Ministry of Finance, Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Rifki Ismail, Deputy Director of Bank Indonesia, Dr. Edi Setiawan, Senior Executive Analyst of the Financial Services Sector Research Group, Financial Services Authority, OJK, the Honorable Moderator, Professor Dr. Raditya Sukmana, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all participants from all over the world. Welcome to launching of PRIME 2023, Policy-Oriented Research in Islamic Economics and Finance Conference with the theme, In the Making of Impactful Policy-Oriented Research, Indonesia's Experience. It's a precious honor for me, Afida, from Center for Islamic Economics and Business, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, to become Master of Ceremony that guiding this event. This event is organized by Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists in collaboration with Center for Islamic Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, and media partner with FOSE, Watchits, HR Update, and also university partner with IPB University and Airlangga University. As information, all participants will get e-certificate of this event after fill the attendance link that will be given in chat box in the end of discussion session. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share the agenda of this event. Firstly, we will hear the national anthem of Indonesia Raya. Secondly, recitation of Holy Quran, continued by opening speech and launching of PRIME. After that, we will hear explanation about PRIME and call for paper, and will be followed by this discussion from panelists, where all participants are welcome to join to ask questions for the panelists. This webinar will explore the substantial experience from each of institutions in the making of impactful policy research oriented. The eminent speakers come from Ministry of Finance, Bank Indonesia, and also OJK. They will bring their own perspective to us how to plan impactful policy-oriented research in Islamic economics and finance. Without any further ado, to start the event, we will start by hear the national anthem of Indonesia Raya. Thank you. The next agenda is recitation of Holy Quran that will be delivered by Mr. Fauzi Shukran from Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists. Over to you, Mr. Fauzi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the specially merciful. وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهُ قُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And if you ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they will definitely say, Allah. Say, praise be to Allah. In fact, most of them do not know. Lillahi ma fis samawati wal ard. Inna Allah huwal ghaniyyul hamid. To Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and earth. Indeed, Allah is the free of need, the praiseworthy. ولو أن ما في الأرض من شجرة أقلام والبحر يمده من بعده سبعة أبحر ما نفدت كلمات الله إن الله عزيز حكيم. If all the trees on earth were pens and the oceans were ink, refilled by 7 other oceans, the words of Allah would not be exhausted. Surely Allah is Almighty, All-Wise. Sadaqallahul Azim. Allah Almighty speaks the truth. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Fauzi, for reciting the Holy Quran. May Allah bless all of us and give His mercy on this event. Ladies and gentlemen, next we will move to the opening speech session. First speech will be delivered by Dr. Rahmatina Kasri as Director of Center for Islamic Economics and Business, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia. Dr. Rahmatina, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Afida. The Honorable Dr. Irfan Shauki Bey, Vice Chairman, DPP IAEI, Dr. Hidayat Amir, Head of the Center for Policy Research and Harmonization, Pushaka Ministry of Finance, the Honorable Dr. Rifki Ismail, Bank Indonesia, Dr. Edi Setiawan, Senior Executive Analyst of the Financial Services Sector Research Group of OJK Institute, the Honorable Professor Raditya Sukmana, Head of Research and Development of the IAEI, Dr. Wahyu Jatmiko, Executive Secretary of the IAEI, and all of the participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, praise and gratitude are due to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His blessings and permission, so that today we can gather here for the launching of the Policy-Oriented Research in Islamic Economics and Finance Conference, or PRIME, and call for paper with the theme, "The Making of Impactful Policy-Based Research and Indonesian Experience." This event is jointly organized by the Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists in partnership with the Center for Sharia Economics and Business, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, IPB University, University of Airlangga, and many other stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted our lives in many aspects, disrupted economic development, including the development of Islamic economics and finance globally and in Indonesia, and also provided us many lessons learned. After 3 decades of its development, the momentum of COVID-19 to some extent stands as the accelerator for increasing public awareness on the existence of Islamic economics and finance, as well as its role in Indonesian economy. Besides its contribution to the national economy, Islamic economics and finance also demonstrated the resilience and also contribute to post-pandemic economic recovery. And despite the pandemic, the latest data shows that the performance of Islamic economic and finance in Indonesia has been improving significantly. Several prominent reports and indicators in 2002 cited Indonesia in the top positions, ranked 4 in the Global Islamic Economy Report 2021-2022, ranked 3 in Islamic Finance and Development Report, ranked 3 in Global Islamic Finance Report, and ranked 2 in Global Muslim Travel Index. Aside from the quantitative indicators, the fact also signifies Islamic economics and finance expansion beyond banking to more variation of finance products and more involvement with real sectors or halal industry. Awareness of public and support from government to Islamic economics and finance in the last decades also show improvement, as shown by the increase in the Islamic economic literacy level from 16% to 23% in 2002, and also the issuance of government regulation to support development of Islamic economics and finance. Even in the regional level, some provinces have launched the Regional Committee for Islamic Economics and Finance, or KDEKS. Ladies and gentlemen, it was expected that the role of Islamic economics and finance will be wider in the future. Indeed, in Indonesia, Islamic economics and finance is expected to be the new flow, arus baru, and a key driver of Indonesian economic growth post-pandemic. In this respect, one of the crucial points to maintain the acceleration of Islamic economics and finance is research, especially policy-based research or policy-oriented research. Today, we understand that public policy making cannot be separated from research or evidence-based process, which help deriving accurate, comprehensive, good, and executable policy implementation. As such, it is hoped that in the future, policy-based research or policy-oriented research will be more encouraged in the area of Islamic economics and finance, so that it could serve as a guide, as a guidance to develop better Islamic economics and finance policy. And therefore, collaboration between academics and policymakers is a must. Ladies and gentlemen, with this background, the Association of Islamic Economics, in collaboration with the Center for Sharia Economics and Business, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, organized the Islamic Economics and Finance Conference, PRIME, and call for policy-oriented research paper. It is expected to be a forum to connect Islamic economics and finance scholars and policymakers. It is expected to be a forum to channel their ideas, thoughts, and research results that are oriented toward policies, and as a liaison for the research result with policymakers. It is also hoped that this event would also encourage Islamic economics and finance scholars in all parts of the world to produce more policy-oriented research. I would like to thank all the panelists for their time and willingness to share their valuable knowledge in this event. Thank you. Dr. Amir, Dr. Hidayat Amir, Dr. Rifki Ismail, my senior, Dr. Edi Setiawan, and also Prof. Raditya Sukmana and Prof. Irfan. I would also like to express my warmest appreciation to all the committees that organized this event, and of course also to all the participants. It is our hope that the event can build public awareness, especially among academics, regarding the implementation of research-oriented policy formulation and increased understanding of the policy formulation process in the public sector. To close, I would like to welcome you all again to the webinar and enjoy today's webinar. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Rahmatina, for such enlightening speech with rich insight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming to the next opening speech and official launching of Prime 2023, who will be delivered by Dr. Irfan Shauki Bek as Vice Chairman of Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists. Without any further ado, over to you, Dr. Irfan.
Thank you very much, Sister Rafida. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil karim wa ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilman nafi'an warzuqna fahman wasi'a. The Honorable Dr. Hidayat Amir, Head of the Center for Policy Research and Harmonization of the Ministry of Finance, the Honorable Dr. Rifki Ismail, Deputy Director at the Department of Islamic Economics and Finance, Bank Indonesia, Dr. Edi Setiawan, Senior Executive Analyst of the Financial Services Sector Research Group of OJK, my colleague, Dr. Rahmatina Kasri, Head of the Center for Islamic Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia, and my guru, Professor Raditya Sukmana, Head of Research and Development of the IAEI, and all distinguished participants from both Indonesia and abroad. Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah, who has given us the opportunity and strength to be able to attend and participate in this prestigious event of the launching Prime Policy-Oriented Research in Islamic Economics and Finance Conference and call for paper 2023 under the theme "In the Making of Impactful Policy-Oriented Research, Indonesia's Experience." We are grateful that in this launching of Prime Conference 2023, we will have 3 distinguished speakers representing policymakers from leading institutions in Indonesia, including the Minister of Finance, Bank Indonesia, and Financial Services Authority, or OJK, to share their experience on making an impactful policy-oriented research in their respective institution. And my greatest appreciation goes to all the committees involved in the making of this insightful event, including IAEI, PEBS UI, Universitas Indonesia, IPB University, and Universitas Erlangga. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it is no doubt that today's global economy poses far more complex challenges than the previous era. The threat of a global economic recession is inevitable in this year, 2023. This ensues from the multidimensional economic issues, such as the post-pandemic COVID-19, Ukraine-Russia war, and high inflation regimes. The condition of uncertainty that overshadowed the world economy and various disturbances triggered a spike in commodity prices and inflation. It then prompted central banks across the globe to increase their benchmark interest rate, which has the potential to escalate the cost of borrowing and thus suppress the economic growth. Inflation of primary goods, including staple food, is of the government's greatest concerns as it relates to the country's food insecurity. The increase in domestic prices for goods and services due to rising costs for imported products or imported inflation and the weakening of the exchange rate still has the potential to threaten emerging economies like Indonesia. Poverty and inequality are also among the greatest challenges to development. The past 2 years have been particularly challenging for the world's poorest people. By the end of 2022, at least 75 million more people have been pushed into poverty than was expected before the pandemic. On the other hand, while the poor have been suffering during the pandemic, billionaires' assets in the late 2022 are 50% higher than in March 2020. So this is an increasing inequality globally. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we are very grateful that the Indonesian economy remains resilient with a promising outlook amidst the global uncertainties. As many countries are still struggling to return their economy to the pre-pandemic level, Alhamdulillah, our country is among the countries which have been able to emerge strongly from the pandemic. Our Central Statistic Agency has just reported the full year 2022 economic growth of Indonesia remains strong at 5.31%, even higher than some expectations of economists. And Alhamdulillah, Indonesian economic growth is also projected to range between 4.5 and 5.3% in 2023, before accelerating to 4.7 until 5.5% in the year 2024. This robust growth is underpinned by private consumption, investment, and positive export performance against a backdrop of a global economic moderation. Consumer Price Index, CPI, inflation is projected to track a downward trend and return to the 3% plus minus 1% target in 2023 and 2.5 plus minus 1% in 2024, with core inflation expected to return to the target in the first half of 2023, in line with the controlled imported inflation, a stable rupiah, as well as a front-loaded, preemptive, and forward-looking monetary and fiscal policy responses. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Islamic economy is currently an integral part of the global economy. In 2021, the halal industry accounted for more than $2 trillion of consumer spending by 1.9 billion Muslims across real sectors of food and beverage, pharmaceuticals, cosmetic, fashion, travel, media, and recreation. Moreover, the value of Islamic finance assets was estimated to reach 3.6 trillion in 2021. These figures show that the Islamic economy is still growing amidst the pressure of the pandemic. Indonesia is blessed with having the biggest halal industry market in the world. Its halal sector even excels the Islamic finance ones. This is a good starting point to be among the biggest players in the global halal industry. Indonesia has 3 areas of opportunity within export growth, import substitution, and foreign direct investment growth. We must focus on optimizing these 3 areas to realize Indonesia as an important player in the halal economy and not only as a market. As an integral part of Indonesian economy, Islamic economics and finance have a moral responsibility to create solutions for the post-pandemic recovery process. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, for Islamic economics and finance to contribute more to the development of Indonesia's economy, high-quality policy-oriented research is indeed the need of the hour. Unfortunately, the numbers of such research remain scant. The next issue when we already have such research is that it is often overlooked by policymakers, leaving it only as an academic exercise. This is why the Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists initiates the policy-oriented research in Islamic economics and finance conference and call for paper. This conference is designed to nudge Islamic economics and finance scholars to produce high-quality policy-oriented research and provides a bridge between them and policy decision makers. Their findings are thus not left unheard. Prior to the primary conference, This very event is held as the launching of Prime and Call for Paper 2023, bringing about the theme of in the making of impactful policy-oriented research in Indonesia's experience. We hope that experts and practitioners dealing with conducting policy-oriented research in their institutions can share their rich experience on this matter. Dr. Hidayat Amir can provide thoughtful insights from the perspective of the Minister of Finance. Dr. Rifki Ismail is the right person to share Bank Indonesia's experience. And we also look forward to hearing about OJK's experience from Mr. Edi Setiawan. Through this sharing session, we hope that all participants can obtain useful insights to be used in their endeavor of conducting impactful policy-oriented research in the near future. Finally, I would like to extend my appreciation again to all the speakers, the participants, the committees from different institutions, and I hope today's activities are able to revive interest and research culture and produce various thoughts that can contribute to the development of Indonesia's post-pandemic social economic condition. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I officially launch the Prime Conference 2023. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And back to you, Sister Afida.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Irfan, for your fruitful speech. Before we continue the main agenda, we have to do the photo session. I would like to invite Dr. Rahmatina, Dr. Irfan, and also the panelists, Dr. Hidayat Amir, Dr. Rifki Ismail, Dr. Edi Setiawan, and our moderator, Professor Aditya Sukmana, to do the photo session. Please turn on your camera and give your best smile. All right. Get ready, please. Okay. We will take the photo by 1, 2, 3. All right, once again, maybe give your best smile. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue this event to the main session. The session will be guided by the moderator, who will start with the explanation about Prime and Call for Paper 2023. Please welcome Professor Dr. Aditya Sukmana. Let me introduce his short profile. He is Professor in Islamic Economics in Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Airlangga, Surabaya, Indonesia. His expertise are in endowment fund, wakaf, Islamic microfinance, Islamic capital market, and Islamic bank, with experience as consultant in managing Islamic endowment funds, consultant in Islamic microfinance, trainer in workshop paper writing for a reputable journal, and now Professor Aditya Sukmana holds position as Head of Research and Development of Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists, IAEI. Okay, without any further ado, over to you, Professor Radit. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Avida. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, yes, I'm clear.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa la syarika lahu, asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Your Excellency, Dr. Rahmatina Akasri, Dr. Irfan Sauki Beg, and all the presenters which has been here, Bapak Dr. Hidayat Amir, apa kabar Bapak? Bapak Rifki Ismail, and Bapak Dr. Rifki Ismail, Bapak Dr. Edi Setiawan. Alhamdulillah. So, as has been explained by Dr. Irfan just now, that this conference or this prime is very important in the sense that we want to gather the high quality research forward for the policy orientations. So this EIAE see that we need to have a high quality research in order to have a high quality policy. So with us now, we have a finance minister, and we have a Bank Indonesia, and we have a Finance Service Authority, OJK, and these are all the important entities for developing the Islamic economics and finance. Next, Mbak Fida, slide. Inshallah, the keynote speaker will be three prominent speaker, including our finance minister, Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, PhD, as a finance minister of Indonesia, and Dr. Mahmud Mohildin, as senior vice president in the World Bank US Group, USA, and Professor Habib Ahmed, who is the first winner of the IDB for Impactful Achievement in Islamic Economics 2022. Next. So scientific committee, we have various important and various reputable scholars all over the world, in Indonesia as well as overseas, like Professor Dr. Muhammad Sahid Ibrahim, Dalal Asauli from Qatar, this Dr. Sahid is from Durham, and also Lukman Hakim from Dundee, University of Dundee, Dr. Rifki Ismail from Bank Indonesia, Pak Irwandi Yasfir from IUM, Bapak Askarya from Gontor Ponorogo, Indonesia, Ibu Prof. Dian from UIII, and also Dr. Hidayat Amir from Durham University. Okay, next. So this policy, this PRIME 2023 stands for Policy Oriented Research in Islamic Economics and Finance Conference. It is organized by IAEI or IAEI, which is the Indonesian Association of Islamic Economics, in partnership with the PEBS UI, Center for Islamic Economics and Business Universitas Indonesia, together the partner with the IPB University and Universitas Erlangga. And this conference, we invite academics, practitioner, policy decision makers to present the policy-oriented research finding. The conference offers a unique series of events to bridge the gap between academic research and policy decision making. So 2023 Prime Conference is part of our Road to Muktamar V IAEI 2023 and focuses on uncovering policy-oriented studies for the post-pandemic COVID-19 recovery process, especially in Indonesia. This year's conference raises the theme on the development of Islamic economic policy for more sustainable post-pandemic recovery. Next. So, with regard to the topic, there are various topics, as you can see in the slide, from the Islamic macroeconomic policy up until the current status of Islamic fintech as well as the Islamic capital markets. So we do expect that for those of you who would like to write papers on this issue, I would suggest that you look into the existing updated research and updated existing policy that has been existed in Indonesia, and then you may evaluate what need to be improved and so on and so forth, and you write a paper and then send to us. And this is the idea, the intention of our EIAE to create this conference. Next. Next. So please note that the venue will be held one page before. The date for the conference will be in. Please return one slide before. Hello. Okay. The conference event will be held in 17 and 18 July 2023 in Universitas Indonesia. And then don't forget the deadline. The deadline will be next February 28th for the extended abstract. It is a submission deadline. And then March 9, the accepted announcement. And then March 15, workshop enhancement. Yeah. May 31 is a full paper submission deadline. June 19 is accepted announcement, and the conference event will be July 17, 18, 2023, and the publication workshop will be sometime in August 2023. Next. So there is opportunity for your paper to be published in these journals. So we have collaborated with this journal, Scopus Index, as well as National Accreditation Index. But again, I have to remind you all that it does not guarantee that the accepted paper will be published. The accepted paper will have a chance to be published. They will be reviewed again with the respective reviewer, and then if it is up to the standard from the perspective of respective journal, then your paper will be published. Next. What is the author benefit by joining this conference? It is a free registration fee, and there will be a best paper awards and the publication opportunities, like just what I have said, and accommodation and transportation allowance, workshop with the policymakers, workshop with the journal editors. Next. So the Prime Conference 2023 is co-organized by IAEI and then Pusat Ekonomi Bisnis Syariah Universitas Indonesia as a host in university and partner university, IBB University and Universitas Erlangga. Next. So these are the website for our conference. Don't forget to submit. Don't forget to contribute your ideas for the research and submit to us. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To continue with after I explain about what Prime is, then I continue with the main agenda, which is the discussions, as has been mentioned by Dr. Irfan and also Dr. Rahmatina, that we have three prominent speakers. I want to introduce the first one first. Bapak Dr. Hidayat Amir is the head of the Center for Policy Research and Harmonization, Pushaka, Ministry of Finance. Just want to greet Bapak Dr. Hidayat. Assalamualaikum, Bapak Dr. Hidayat. Are you here?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Just to inform the brief curriculum vitae, Bapak Dr. Hidayat Amir, he was born in Purworejo, August 4, 1975, and Diploma 3 from accounting from the State Accounting College in 96, bachelor degree in 2000 from University of Indonesia, again the same university with a master degree in 2004, and then finished a PhD in University of Queensland, Australia 2012 with a research topic tax policy, growth income distribution in Indonesia, and computable general equilibrium analysis. His expertise including field of fiscal policy, tax policy, public policy, and economic modeling. So currently he's appointed as a head of Center for Policy Analysis and Harmonization of the Secretariat General. So basically, he will talk about the experience of Finance Ministry in order to create a policy which is based on the research. Without further ado, I would like to invite Bapak Dr. Hidayat Amir. Time is yours. You have 25 minutes, Bapak Hidayat.
Thank you,
Please.
Pak Radit. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bu Rahmatina, ini teman-teman semuanya, Pak Radit, and all colleagues here. I've been requested to talk about in making what impactful policy-oriented research, MOF experience, but actually I prepare only my experience, not more experience, because in Ministry of Finance there are so many research, and we have a lot of issues in fiscal policy. But this is only a view of my experience. I have to declare, make a disclaimer in first. Okay, alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Salatu wassalamu ala nabiyina Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mudah-mudahan kita semua termasuk orang yang diberkahi. I will briefly what is my experience when I was a researcher in Fiscal Policy Office in Ministry of Finance. Actually, this is talking about my story in my position previously. Now I'm not a researcher anymore. I have no opportunity to do research anymore. But okay, this is, I think, a good opportunity to talk with you, all scholars in IAEI or in university. Just a brief of my experience, maybe it will enlighten your research in the future. Okay, basically to make impactful policy oriented, we have to think as a policymaker, or we have to know what policymaker need. Policymaker need basically making decision to address many public issues. Sometimes policymaker are always in the difficult situation, because that making policy basically you have to decide something that always a trade-off in every single option, in every single alternative. We can list so many alternatives of policy, but basically you have to reduce only in competing alternative. Maybe 2, maybe 3 alternative. Because if we have to make decision from many alternatives, it's very, very hard. So we have to reduce, eliminate some other alternative to only 2 or 3, basically competing alternatives, to make it easier to make decision. But again, still the trade-off there. So we need strong argument on every single competing alternative that we have. So basically, the policymaker need rigorous assessment or analysis to make a judgment, to make a strong argument on their decision. So this is the way the researcher, that if you need to be a researcher to accommodate or make an impactful policy-oriented research, you have to think as policymaker. You have to know the way policymaker think to see what is the trade-off among alternative, among competing alternative. So the job for researcher basically creating rigorous assessment or analysis to convince every single competing alternative. So basically you have to think the alternative and the impact or the implication or the trade-off among alternative. This is just to make an easier for us. Researcher think as policymaker. If we see in the quadratic diagram, something like this. Basically, usually, researcher think about the academic contribution, creating new knowledge. As a researcher, you have to publish in the reputable journal, in the international journal. And now we're launching Prime, basically giving you opportunity to publish in the reputable journal, international reputable journal, reputable international journal. But as I mentioned earlier, policymaker think about the making decision. So there is two objectives here, two concern here: making academic contribution. At the same time, you contribute on the policy making process. And highlighted in the title, in the topic here, not only just policy making, but the impactful policy making. But actually, public policy usually have a very high impact on the public life, on the society life. So I will give several experience on my research previously that related with this situation. I have a situation that ideal in here, making academic contribution, and also making contribute to the policy making. So this is the ideal situation in the quadrant first. When we only concentration in the academic contribution, fine, but this is not the topic objective in this discussion. We have to intend, because we can create a knowledge based on our study, new knowledge based of our research. This is good, making academic contribution. But because we're talking about how to balance making contribution in the policy making process, impactful policy making process, and also in the academic contribution. But sometimes researcher, please do not in the fourth quadrant, because this is no zone. I will talk several experience in the ideal situation, but also, of course, I'm making mistake. I'm just an ordinary person. Also, sometimes making not ideal, but this is still, I think, useful for us. Okay, this is the ideal focus one. During the President Jokowi 2014, 2019, in the first period, or previously, basically, development of infrastructure is very, very important in Indonesia. And then most of study, or most of the discussion in the infrastructure development on the financing side. At that time, very limited study that showing the economic impact of infrastructure development. Then I come up with a study. I previously already developed CGE model, and then here working with Professor Jeffrey Hewing and also Professor Eugene Kim, Seoul National University, trying to accommodate the financial CGE transportation network. Basically, we combine the CGE and the financial SAM and also the transportation network in Indonesia to see the economic impact of infrastructure development. For example, when we develop Trans-Sumatera, Tol Trans-Sumatera, we can improve the Tol Sumatera, improve the accessibility for transportation, and so on and so forth. We can approach this one from dot to dot, from location to other location, the impact of the economy, and we create the model here and trying to make a simulation to see what is the economic impact of the several policy option or simulation in terms of the economic impact. I developed this one with Prof. Jeff Hewing and Prof. Yi Jungbin and supported by ADB, Asian Development Bank, basically to see the option, because the development in the infrastructure need huge money. So then we have to be precise what kind of infrastructure to be developed to see the maximum or the optimum impact in the economy. So this is just the model. We create this one and then basically giving the information to the policymaker on the better designing the prioritization in the infrastructure, because limited of the financing side, subject to the budget, the financing side. So this is giving the input for the policymaker, not directly, because we have to see several other simulation, but actually the model has been developed and we can use the model for impact assessment on the infrastructure. In this case, the transportation network, the transportation infrastructure. And then after we finish with the development model and some simulation, I'm trying to present it in the conference and also publish in the reputable journal. This is the situation of the ideal situation. This one, we supporting the policymaker and also make academic contribution, because I can claim that this is the first time CGE with the financial transformation network in the world. Okay, this is the case 2. We make impact analysis on import tariff on consumer goods. At that time, 2015, there is quote unquote consumerism, that we imported a lot of luxury good or consumer good basically, and government trying to improve, giving the increase in the import tariff for quote unquote consumer good or luxury good. I make a modeling here also. We have to match the HS code with the commodity in the model, in the CGE model, and then we see what is the policy option to increase in the type of importing good or imported good, the consumer good here, and see what is the impact to do the policy. And then at 2015, the simulation used as supporting analysis for Peraturan Menteri Keuangan 132 2015, not 2005. And then on 2016, I claimed the authorship in the Forum Kajian Pembangunan. This is a forum that created by Australian University, National University, and also being published in the reputable journal. I think this is the case for ideal, case 2 for ideal situation. And then for the third one, that the government also have a new policy, Dana Desa, started at 2004, 2005. And then in 2017, we was in BKF doing preliminary study, what is the impact of Dana Desa, because it's very, very massive transfer from the central government directly to the village. And then in 2018, we in collaboration with PKN STAN, peneliti, dosen, researcher, and lecturer there, making a more rigorous study, and we doing a survey for 3,000 villages. You know, we have a huge number of PKN STAN students. So when they pulang kampung during Lebaran Day, we give them the questionnaire and brief them with how to do the research, to do the survey based on the questionnaire. So this is a massive survey. I think this is the big survey in the Dana Desa up to now. So we can see the comprehensive study on the Dana Desa, and the result of the study being reported to the Ministry of Finance as evaluation impact of the study. And then we also publish the result of the study in several articles, actually, because the study itself is designed with several objective of evaluation. So this is the result. We publish in the Journal of Rural Studies. This is the top ranked journal in the rural areas or rural studies. And then we also make a study on what is the impact of social assistance program. You know, in Indonesia, we have so many social assistance programs. The design of every single social assistance program basically trying to address the several objects in the society to reduce the poverty. So we're trying to see the impact and also doing the survey, and also how to create or to integrate various social assistance program that giving better or the best impact on reducing the poverty. This is also quite a significant study that, you know, in 2019, we also increased the number of benefit to the recipient in the PKH, basically based on this study. And then after we finish in the policy making process, policy implementation, we also publish in the reputable journal. This is the case for ideal situation that I mentioned earlier. This is only the example, several examples that we conduct the study with many researchers in Ministry of Finance. Okay, we'll give also some example for not ideal study. We have a CG model that developed during my PhD in University of Queensland. I'm not studying at Durham University. I'm studying at University of Queensland, Australia. In Indonesia, we have tourism satellite model, tourism satellite data, tourism satellite account. This is data that basically not many countries have such kind of data, and my professor realized that Indonesia has a good data of tourism. So we're trying to make playing around with the data and the model. We discussed with them, make several Skype conference with friends, and then designing the policy simulation in the model and so on. And because this is not directly to the policy recommendation in Indonesia and no policy adoption in, this is basically just the academic exercise. We run the model and simply publish only in the short period, just exercising with the data. We can publish in the Tourism, Economic, and Journal of Travel Research. This is also reputable journal in the tourism. Okay, We also have another example from not ideal situation. We're doing the economic impact analysis on bonded industrial zone. At the time, 2015, I remember we need to assess the taxation issues in the bonded industrial area. Diindikasikan ada kebocoran, gitu. Kira-kira seperti itu. And then we doing the joint study BKF, Bea Cukai, and BPS. Previously, we only plan to have such kind of survey, but because we have an access for all companies, all corporates in the bonded or industrial zone, we end up with census. This is the first census, I think, in the industrial zone. We're doing the census with the support of DCBC, because the unit in Ministry of Finance that have authority in the bonded zone, di kawasan berikat, and we also working with BPS, because BPS also collecting the data and the analysis on these issues, basically on the export, import, and so on. So we we're doing the joint study, very rigorous study. We're doing the census and also field survey to see what real in the field, and we come up with the assessment dampak dari kawasan berikat. We successfully estimate the impact of the bonded zone or industrial zone policy. So basically, we create some policy recommendation based on the study that trigger joint audit, joint program, and also simplification of the document from DCBC and DCP. So the potential yang tadi diindikasikan sebagai kebocoran sebetulnya karena apa ya, perspektif yang berbeda saja. Tetapi we can evaluate, we can estimate the economic impact kawasan berikat and kita. This is the contribution that we can claim from our study. We have no journal publication from this study, but I feel that this study is very useful. I'm very glad to do this study, giving us the experience to see the real sector in the industrial areas. Okay, I think this is all. To do the research, impactful policy-oriented research, we cannot only just doing research, but we have to move forward what kind of policy-oriented means. So basically, we have to present what kind of problem that need to be addressed with new policy. So sometimes we don't need to have very detailed, very complex study, as conducted most of my study, because I developed the model and so on and so forth. This is the example that policy can be addressed only with very simple study. I have audited data on the electricity subsidy 2013, and then trying to make a graph, only a simple graph. But let you know, to make this graph, I have to try several times. That's easy to see, easy to know, easy to show a clear problem in the electricity subsidy at the time. And you can see here, industri kategori I1, I3, and I4. Do they need the subsidy or not? Basically,
Hidayat, you have 5 minutes remaining, Pak Hidayat.
Okay, I will use only 1 minute. show the subsidy, electricity subsidy in this category, maybe not proper. So this is priority for the reform. And you can see here in 2014 secara bertahap subsidi listrik golongan 1 I3 dan I4 dihapus. And now the subsidy only left in the household for kategori di bawah 900 volt ampere. This is the impactful policy-oriented research. Basically show a clear problem and the alternative to the policymaker. Okay, I will close with this one. I think if you need to see more on the way we conducted the policy assessment or policy research, I already published the book Analisis Dampak Kebijakan Penggunaan CG. This is the expectation from Minister of Finance. Peneliti harus mampu menjadi best brainer yang menghasilkan to create the policy recommendation timely to support the best policy for the society. I think I will close here. Raditya, yep. I'm so sorry. I have to catch up for other program. Maybe I could not stay longer in this event.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Bapak Dr. Hidayat Amir. Just want to make a brief points which has been explained by Bapak Dr. Hidayat, that he mentioned that for the researcher, they have to have a strong arguments in doing the research. The strong argument must come from what is the need what is the need to make a better life, better in the future. So just now Pak Hidayat has mentioned about there exists consumerism in Indonesia, and in order to avoid those kind of consumerism, then the role of government is to create a policy with regard to the tariff, and this has to be started or initiated with the rigorous research on what is the existing tariff for the consumerism and what need to be improved for the tariff to make lesser consumerism. And also, Bapak Hidayat also mentioned about the problem of the transportation connections, yeah, in which Bapak Dr. Hidayat has did a very thorough study with regard to the economic impact evaluations with, on the financing the transportation sector. So thank you very much, Bapak Dr. Hidayat. Maybe later on, if there is a questions from the audience, if I would keep the questions, and later on I will submit to you after this conference. Would that be okay, Pak Hidayat? Okay. Still mute, Pak.
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay.
You can submit the question.
Yeah.
But of course,
yeah.
I'm trying to answer, but not promise to all the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bapak Hidayat, for the enlightening presentations. Let me move forward for the second speaker. If the Bapak Hidayat is coming from the
Radit,
Finance Minister.
Thank you.
Yes,
Pak Radit.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm so
Have a
sorry
nice
I
day.
have to leave.
Yes.
Rahmatina, terima kasih teman-teman semuanya.
Ya, terima kasih.
Yeah. Thank you, Bapak Hidayat.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. If Bapak Hidayat is coming from the Finance Ministry, then we move to the other government institution, which is Central Bank. And Alhamdulillah, with us now is Bapak Rifki Ismail. Assalamualaikum, Pak Rifki. Can you hear me?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. How are you, Bapak Rifki? Good, Alhamdulillah. Just to introduce, I think everybody knows Pak Rifki, but just want to explain about his education background. Bachelor degree from Universitas Indonesia, and also master degree from Michigan Ann Arbor, and PhD from Durham University. So currently he's a deputy director and just finished assigned as a Assistant Secretary General Islamic Financial Service Board, which is in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So currently, other than in Bank Indonesia, he is also a lecturer in some university in Indonesia, IPB, Trisakti, Taskia, and also in France. So I believe the idea is the same in the sense that for the policy orientation research, there must be some problems that has to be found first. But the issue within the central bank, this is what we want to hear from the Parifki Ismail. So Parifki Ismail, you have 25 minutes for your presentations. Thank you very much. You may start.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable my colleagues, Prof. Radit, Dr. Irfan, Dr. Rahmatina, Dr. Hidayat Amir, and Dr. Edi. My colleagues, also participants from all over the world, Indonesia and abroad. It's my pleasure to join again the IAEI event, which is also my passion regarding research. First of all, I would can you project my slide, please, the operator? If I may continue what has been mentioned by Pak Hidayat Amir, which is quite relevant with Bank Indonesia also having a passion in this research. First of all, okay, next please. What we want to discuss is policy-oriented research. Next, next please. Maybe you can just read my presentation, but I'd like to give some personal view and also insight regarding what do we need in order to have a policy-oriented research. That's a very important one. Next, please. Okay, this is just illustration. If you want to know what are types of writings, academic particularly, there are report doesn't need research. It's just only reporting, just only informing the public or the audience about the fact. Articles also very common. We can just explain anything in the article. But when we come up with the research, either bachelor degree thesis, master thesis, or PhD thesis, or academic journal thesis, we need to do a research. That's the most important one. Otherwise, it's not an academic research. Secondly, when we talk about policy-oriented research, as mentioned by Pak Hidayat Amir, regulators or decision makers have some patience, have some standard when they face with research. First of all, what we need to understand is, again, what Pak Hidayat Amir mentioned, which is also relevant with Bank Indonesia. What is Bank Indonesia mandate? We cannot just do research which is beyond the mandate of Bank Indonesia. I give an example. Because as I mentioned by Prof. Radit, I'm not only a central banker, but also lecturers, alhamdulillah, including in Erlangga University. So we are a joint lecturers in Erlangga with Prof. Radit. For example, I've ever assessed a paper. Can you imagine the title of the paper? The impact of monetary policy to SME. Allahu Akbar, Bank Indonesia. Central bank doesn't have mandate to develop SME, particularly. Need to remember that. If you want to talk about SME, please go to the Ministry of SME. You come with the wrong place. You come with the wrong place. But how can I assess the paper? And what I imagine is the author is just very happy because he or she knows about a model, about the tools, and he wants to do a run. He wants to model everything without knowing the context, without knowing the mandate, without knowing the passion of the authorities. That is wrong. That is wrong. So how can we produce policy-oriented research? Please understand the mandate, the passion, the orientation, the focus of the authorities. Bank Indonesia, Ministry of Finance, OJK, and other authorities. Otherwise, you come with the wrong room, with the wrong house. Please remember that. Next, please. Next, if you can go to the next slide. Okay, this is also just to give you an illustration on what are differences between at least the three outputs of academic writing. Journal of or dissertation, paper, newspaper, article, or popular book. We need to know the differentiation between these three outputs, these three writing outputs. Yeah, particularly the journal is a research-based product. Yeah, because to be honest, I give you another example. Alhamdulillah, I've got a lot of examples about these researches. Yeah, for example, I've just read a paper which is maybe claimed as an academic paper, but in the paper itself, it doesn't say anything about the research problem. It doesn't say anything about the problem of the research. So what do you assess? Are you only explaining? That is not a research. Research is solving a problem. Otherwise, it's only information. It's only a report. Yeah. Popular book, for example. Popular book doesn't have to be a research. It can be a research, but it can also be not a research. Yeah. That's a popular book. Reviewing process. Of course, a research, a journal, and everything, or thesis, dissertation, needs to follow a thorough process, reviewing process. And who are the reviewers? Expert in the field. Article in the newspaper doesn't need to have a review. Popular book, there is a review, but from the book publisher, but not from a professor, for example, from Prof. Radit, for example. We need to pass Prof. Radit examination before the research is being published in academic journal, for example. So how tough is the research? Yeah, a contribution of journal or research to the science, knowledge and science. Yeah, and then writing procedure must be formal, a quotation. So any research can quote research from journal or dissertation or any academic product. Yeah, but not to the others product like article or popular book can be referred, but not particularly as high as a journal. Yeah. Next, please. I don't want to spend more time in this paper, this slide, because you can just have a read. So this is a very important one. If you want to produce policy-oriented research and also high-impact research, I can classify. Yeah, before I explain about this slide, I imagine myself and I classified myself. It's very subjective, to be honest. Yeah. There are at least two types of researches. First, research which only assess, which only identify, which only maps, which only conduct of factors affecting something, identify preferences and everything. That is good. That's not something wrong with that. But if we talk about policy oriented, that is not enough. I'll give you an example. Yeah, because a policy oriented doesn't have to be from the economic related authorities, for example. Let me give you example from Ministry of Health in the pandemic. Yeah, there are two types of research. The first one, when we do a research to identify the impact of COVID to the increase of poverty level, the impact of COVID to the increase of unemployment level. Is it good? It is good. Nothing wrong with that. Those are good research. But can the Minister of Health does something with that? I'm afraid they cannot. But if we come up with the second type of research, the one that I call research which find something solving the problem of the ummah, solving even the problem of the humanity. If we take example again from the pandemic, research which will produce medicine for COVID. Can you imagine? This research find the medicine for COVID. Can you imagine how beneficial this research? It's not only identifying pandemic or factors affecting pandemic affecting social factors. Fine, but the victims of pandemic still there. They are not recovered. They are still suffer. How can we find a research to find a medicine for COVID? This is much more impactful. It is policy oriented. So Minister of Health can allocate a lot of budget to produce this. I'm not talking about vaccine. Vaccine has been found, but the medicine, we haven't found the medicine. That's the example. So how can we produce that one? Yeah. So the number one is just explaining, for example, influencing factors, customer bank behavior. Those are good, but I'm afraid regulators may not take something, may not follow up We can, but not really significant to the impact of, for example, development of Islamic finance. Number two, if our research can solve a classic problem, this is very important. This is highly appreciated. For example, Islamic pricing benchmark. To be honest, my colleagues, December 2021, because I was from IFSB before, until December last year, I was with IFSB. One very crucial problem faced by the world Islamic economic is, I'm saying again, one of the big problems faced by Islamic economic stakeholder is there is no LIBOR again. Do you know LIBOR? London Interbank Offer Rate. Why we are talking about interest rate? LIBOR is the interest rate revered by all sukuk issuers in the world. Can you imagine? All sukuk issuers in the world, when they market the sukuk, they said our return is LIBOR plus 3. Our return sharing is LIBOR plus 4. So LIBOR is gone. Can you imagine? So how can sukuk being issued without a reference? There's a big problem right now in the world. Can you contribute in this problem? If it is only, what is the impact of LIBOR abolishment with the issuance of sukuk? That is good. But can you produce the Islamic pricing benchmark to replace LIBOR? This is the most important one. I'm challenging not only you, but also myself. Even in Indonesia, we don't have pricing benchmark. The one that we have is conventional one. Bank Indonesia 7 days repo rate. That is a benchmark for conventional. But are we going to refer to conventional rate for Islamic product? And then people may say, oh, Islamic finance, nothing to do with Islamic. They are still referring to conventional. It will make us shy, to be honest. Why Islamic finance still refers to the conventional? And can we produce something as a reference? For example, you can create a benchmark rate for the world of Islamic finance in Indonesia. For sure, Bank Indonesia will take action on that. For sure. Rather than just identifying, for example, the performance of Islamic banking during the pandemic, that is fine. Anything can we follow up? Not really strong. And then productive cash awqaf, that is very good. We have produced cash awqaf link. So for example, the stakeholder of Islamic finance have successfully issued cash awqaf link sukuk. Can we construct cash awqaf link sedekah? Can you design sedekah, a sukuk? What is the model? What is the cash flow? What is the simulation? What is the, of course, there is no return. Sedekah should not give any return. The return will be in the akhirah. But can we make a detailed proposal on that? And then the Minister of Finance, for example, in collaboration with Bank Indonesia, with Basnas, for example, in this case, will just execute the product. Again, we'll just execute the product. Because of what? Because it's very complete research. Very complete. It's not only identifying, assessing, mapping. Those are good, but not enough. I may say again, those are not enough. And then social sukuk for market demand. Oh, again, this is another problem faced by Indonesia Islamic finance. Also in the world, the market for Islamic finance is still shallow. Dangkal bahasa Indonesia, shallow. What do we need? We need to have a deep Islamic financial market. So how do we deep the Islamic financial market? Three authorities, Bank Indonesia, Ministry of Finance, and OJK, we have drafted and we have issued a report 2015 on. The report is titling like effort to deepen the financial market in Indonesia, including the Islamic one. So these three authorities have a similar concern on how to deepen the Islamic financial market, including the conventional one. Can we do, for example, I give you example, including a challenge, and you may have some ideas on what do we mean, what do I mean by policy oriented. We have, what do I say by we, Bank Indonesia, OJK, we have issued a regulation on the issuance of negotiable certificate of deposit, Islamic NCD. Any issuance of NCD? Not yet until now. We have issued Bank Indonesia regulation, OJK regulation related to the issuance of Islamic NCD 2000 and I think 2019 or 18. Any issuance? Not yet. Any problem with that? You need to identify why. What happened with the industry? Why don't they issue NCD, Islamic NCD? We need to have a thorough research on that. And then OJK and Bank Indonesia may take action, either issuing, for example, a supporting regulation or doing something related with the issuance of Islamic NCD. Rather than, again, just measuring what is the impact of shallow market to the unemployment. We can do that, but not really impactful enough for regulators. Yeah. And then the next one is, for example, high impact on science and society, Islamic macroprudential. Not many researchers produce research on Islamic macroprudential. Yeah. A public welfare policy with awqaf, Islamic policy mix, Islamic fiscal policy with tabaruk, for example. We have got one, but we haven't got one for central bank, for example. Can we create tabaruk-based Islamic monetary instrument? Can we challenge that? If we have one, we are going to be the first one in the world central bank having a tabaruk-based Islamic monetary instrument. That is phenomenal. If we can be granted Nobel Prize, to be honest, if we can create one. Yeah. Finding new theories, concept, instrument. For example, social-based Islamic economic instrument, integrated Islamic fiscal and monetary instrument. Sukuk Bank Indonesia is one of the output that we integrate a fiscal and monetary instrument altogether. So Alhamdulillah, we have proved one, yeah, but we need more proofs on other products. Next, please. So regarding the method, you can do any method, a survey, FGD, literature, documents, modeling. If you are mastering in econometric, mathematics model, you can do that, but you need to remember, is it correct method to do or to assess the topic? Is it, will it produce the expected output to answer the question of the research and so on? So for example, I'm just illustrating, like for survey, we can use these to answer or to respond to consumer perception, public preference, construction of the index. If we are expert in modeling, either mathematics, econometrics, statistics, or any modeling, we can use these for identifying factors affecting something, for example, market share. I'm also challenging, for example, challenging us, not you, meaning me and you. Yeah, we are facing a recession, 2023. The world, not me. The world is saying 2023 is a recession year. Your World Bank, IMF saying this. Yeah. My question would be, if the Ukraine-Russian war may not end, if the oil price is reaching more than $100 per barrel, if the interest rate, yeah, currently UK interest rate is reaching 10%, yeah, Europe interest rate is reaching 9.1%, yeah, currently. If this unfavorable macroeconomic condition happen externally, how can Islamic Bank survive? I'm not saying about identifying factors, no. I'm asking about, can we identify the resilience level of Islamic banking? What do I mean by resilience level? We need to identify in which a suffer condition that Islamic banking still survive. What do I mean still survive? Non-performing financing. In which level that non-performing financing of Islamic bank can be managed. Beyond that, Islamic bank may not exist because of the extremely higher non-performing financing due to unfavorable global economic condition. Then we may see, hopefully not, I don't pray for this, Islamic bank closed. Islamic bank is being closed by the authorities. We are not expecting, but we need to anticipate in this recession period, and we need to answer. I've also been challenged, for example, it's just to give you some illustration. 2012, when I was still in Islamic banking department, Bank Indonesia, currently it is under OJK. I was being challenged, yeah, to ask how many or how maximum the number of Islamic banks in Indonesia that we can give license. Currently, we have 14 Islamic banks. So how many more Islamic banks that we can give license to operate in Indonesia? Is it 20, 30, 70? How many? All 14 is enough. We need to have a simulation on this. So if we, for example, find that the maximum number of Islamic banks in Indonesia are 20, with a lot of simulation, with a lot of calculation, and we prove it to OJK, OJK can take action on that. Yeah, because beyond 20 Islamic banks, it's only example. Yeah, I haven't got any research on this. If Islamic banks are beyond 20 numbers, 21, it will reach a downturn Islamic banking performance, for example. It is very meaningful research for regulators. Yeah, you can do focus group discussion to identify market behavior, investor perception, or we can do literature or document assessment for those who are from, for example, legal background, or not from economics, or not from a strong quantitative background. You can do like literature survey, assessment from the document, and so on. Next, please. So this is just a structure of the research. I'm just saying that we need to have a proper proportion of the content of the research, in which we need to focus on the content of the research, meaning 70% of our research should be the content of the assessment, the method that we are using, the output that we assess. Yeah, I'm not. I just try to avoid a non or unuseful proportion in the research. For example, we should not focus more on the literature or in other parts beyond the content of the research. Next, please. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is how do we write proper research. We need to identify a research problem, as I mentioned in the beginning. And in order to have a policy-oriented, policy impactful, or high-impact policy research, we need to understand, again, the mandate of the authorities, the patient, the focus, and the problem of the authorities right now, including, for example, the industry problem. Again, you can just read this slide, because I'm just giving you a lot of illustration. For example, the Islamic banking industry. I'm not always talking about Islamic. We can talk about other sectors, but let me give you illustration on Islamic banking industry example. The domination of murabaha is a very, very dominant in Indonesia Islamic banking sector. Also in other countries, in Malaysia, UAE, domination of murabaha in terms of tawarruk or bayal-ina are still there, while we expect domination of mudharabah or musyarakah contract. Can we solve this problem? What do we need to do beyond just identifying, for example, in which level or in which strategy that we can push the mudharabah, the musyarakah based transaction in Islamic bank, for example? What can Bank Indonesia, OJK produce a regulation to boost this type of mode of Islamic financing? Yeah, but we need to also be aware with method that we appoint. Again, the method that I mentioned, we need to have a precise method based on the focus, based on the issue that we address in the research. Yeah, and then we need to also have a proper quotation. Yeah, I just remember last time I'm just reviewing. I'm just assessing a PhD dissertation examination. Can you imagine? The PhD student quoted YouTube. Can we quote YouTube? Can you imagine? MashaAllah, in PhD level, we cannot quote YouTube. For sure, we cannot quote YouTube. But how can you quote YouTube? How can you quote newspaper? We cannot. Newspaper is not academic product. It is prohibited probably in Islamic academic writing. It is haram. It has nothing to do with fiqh. It's like for academic research writing, it is haram to quote newspaper. Yeah, we need to quote from a research-based sources. Yeah, next, please. Current, it's also very important. Next, please. What are the topic of the current Islamic economic and finance issues? We can address research on Islamic social fund, zakat, awqaf, digitalization, yeah. Also global Islamic fund, again, LIBOR issues, and then green sukuk, SDG sukuk, also new trend payment
Rifki,
system. Yes.
you have 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, inshallah.
Yeah,
I'll try to fasten my presentation. Thank you, Prof. Radit. You can refer to this global institution to know more about the issues. For example, IDB, OIC, IFSB, ILM, IFM, IOFI. If you are familiar with fatwa, for example, you can refer to IOFI because they produce fatwa. IIRRA for Islamic Rating Agency, IMF, World Bank. Yeah. So we need to understand the issue. For example, I'll give you one short example. The world of Islamic finance today is agreeing with the topic of digital transformation post-pandemic. So how do we create, for example, digital-based banking supervision, digital-based sukuk issuance? Can we construct, can we draft the model? Can we make a simulation on that? Can we construct the parties involved in that? And then the authorities may follow up. For example, if it is government sukuk, Ministry of Finance. If it is corporate sukuk, OJK will follow up. Next, please. Another issues, yeah, deepening Islamic finance. I've just mentioned about this. Sharia inclusive finance, financial access, financial services, financial knowledge. It's also a very important topic. Yeah. Sustainable development. IFFD just issued our standard on sustainable Islamic capital market. Yeah. This year we is IFSB is drafting a standard for sustainable Islamic banking standard. Yeah, you can just have a look in IFSB website. So having this standard, can we do further research on this? And then IFSB, IDB will follow up with our research. Macro and micro prudential indicators. Yeah, Islamic social finance, again, zakat. Prof. Radit is expert in awqaf. Yeah. Also Islamic crowdfunding, Hajj and Umrah finance, and so on. I remember just a couple of days back, I was reviewing a paper on Hajj. The paper is saying that the author is modeling, again, the author is modeling the impact of COVID with the payment of Hajj. I'm thinking in my mind, when we register ourselves in Hajj to go for Hajj, we are just paying one time for the down payment, and then we will pay the rest of the Hajj fund when we are called by BPKH or Ministry of Religion. For example, 20 years from now, 15 years from now. So how do we identify the payment? It is not a continuous payment. It is only one time, and the next when we are called. But maybe, again, I'm just imagining maybe the author is very expert in econometric and then he just models. No, it's nothing. We need to understand the Hajj fund, the payment, the nature of Hajj fund. It's nothing to do with modeling. Again, next, please. And then BPKH can take action on this. Okay, this is the point that I've just mentioned. We need to understand the topic. We need to choose the right method. We need to do a proper analysis. I'm always saying, what next? If we have analyzed econometric model, mathematics, statistic, or survey, any method that we are familiar, we have done with the research, we have done with the output, what next? What is the action that researchers or authorities can do? It is beyond than the output itself. Yeah. And then we come up with the proposal of solution. Next, please. Okay, what to do next? Again, in order to prepare for having a policy-oriented research, please read a lot researches or scientific research journal, including publication of the authorities. Learn how to write gradually from a normal research until policy-oriented research. Try to publish your research from the local until international, including the index of publication. Next, please, because it will educate us. Also try to understand the stakeholder. Again, we are not only considering the regulators, but also stakeholders, the industry, international institutions, yeah, our, for example, universities, authorities. We need to consider all of them. Because they're all integrated each other. Yeah. In order to have high impact research, we need to take care of these at least 4 stakeholders in Islamic finance. Next. I think it is the end. Okay, no need to explain about this. Thank you so much, Prof. Radit. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you once again, Bapak Dr. Rifki Ismail. If I can make brief points, what has been said by Pak Rifki Ismail is that he stressed the importance of whether our research is the concern of the government. We may create a lot of research, but try to think whether our proposed research question is the concern of the government. Just like Pak Rifki has mentioned about right now we don't have the pricing benchmark. We can write a lot of papers in Islamic economics and finance, but if you can accept the challenge by Dr. Rifki Ismail to create an Islamic pricing benchmark, that will be bought by the central bank. So there's the key points that are really important for those of you who are here and then wants to write a paper for this prime conference. So I would suggest that take a picture of Indonesia first. What is the current problem, significant problem that needs to be found a very significant solution, significant research method. So take a picture of Indonesia first. How? Just like Pak Rifki mentioned, you need to read a lot on the journal as well as the annual report of the government, so that you can spot the very important aspect that needs to be make solutions. Thank you very much. But hang on, Pak Rifki, I will later on. The Q&A will be later on in after the third presenter. So for those of you who are here, if you have questions, you may raise your hand later on, but if you want to write a question, you can do so in the chat box. Start from now, you can. Let me move into the third presenter. It will be from the Financial Service Authority, Bapak Dr. Edi Setiawan. Assalamualaikum, Pak Edi. Belum terdengar, Pak. Sorry, I still could not hear your voice.
Now you can hear me?
Okay, now it's clear.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Yes.
Just want to introduce Bapak Dr. Edi Setiawan. He got the bachelor degree from Economics in the Universitas Gadjah Mada and master from Asian Institute of Management, AIM, Philippines, and finished doctorate degree in Economics from Trisakti University. Currently, he serves as a senior executive analyst, Indonesian Financial Service Authority. It has been 20 years of experience as a central banker in Indonesia. His area of interest including public policy, global governance, microfinance, risk management, Islamic finance, sustainable development, and sustainable finance. Again, I think the idea is the same that has been firstly introduced by Bapak Hidayat Amir from the perspective of finance minister, and the second presenter from the perspective of the Bapak Rifki Ismail. Now is the perspective from the FSA. What is the ideas, the concern of the government that is need to be conducted a thorough research first as a significant input for the policy process from the perspective of Financial Service Authority. Again, the same 25 minutes for you, Bapak Dr. Edi Setiawan. You may start now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Radit. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan rasulullah. Distinguished speakers, Pak Hidayat, Uda Rifki, Pak Irfan, Ibu Rahmatina, I saw also my colleagues, Pak Azizon, Ibu Fauzia, and others. Thank you for this opportunity to share
my idea about how research can be support policy. I think the previous speakers already explained a lot about it, and I try to make in another angle. That's very simple to see how policy making and how research can support. Should I share my presentation, or maybe from the committee provided?
I think the committee will share it for you.
Okay, please.
Teman-teman mungkin bisa share. Ya.
Okay, next, please. Yeah. So we start from the left side. This is like very, very common when we refer to the public policy process. I refer to the done that there are 5 big points in the process of the making of the policy. First, problem identification, and then policy formulations, policy adaptation, policy implementation, and policy evaluation. Yeah. So when we are talking about research, where is the position of the research? It's supposed in here in the left side, policy evaluation. But if we are talking about policy evaluation, it's not only in the end of the process, but in the entire of the process of the making of the policy itself. Yeah, if you see in here, what we have done in OJK also, we make policy evaluations in pre, initial, mid, and post of the policy itself. Yeah. And also how we evaluate the policy. Also, we are evaluate about the process, evaluate about the outcome, evaluate about the impact, and evaluate about cost and benefit of the policy. So this is the area and the period when we using research to support the policy. And let me see how in OJK when OJK produce policy, usually come from 5 enablers. Yeah, first about global as well as local issues, like global issues about the pandemics, about the impact of the Ukraine and Russia war, for example, or the potential of the global economic crisis after the pandemic. Yeah. So this is the trigger of the policy making, and also about the local issues, about the issue about inequality in our society, for example, and also the policy also triggered by government policy. For example, when government endorsed or ratified a global agreement, for example, in climate, in Paris Agreement, and then government ratified with the act, then it will be followed with other regulation as well as, for example, regulation that issued by OJK. Another enabler or trigger to make a policy is a business practices. Yeah, as Uda Rifki said that about how or why murabahah become the main portion of Islamic banking in Indonesia. So it's like in business practices, or what the main problem in Islamic finance, Islamic banking, or other Islamic finance institution. Another is like institution mandate. For example, when we have the last act that PEBS UI SK that also give new mandate for OJK, like to regulate, to supervise cryptocurrency, then will create the policy from OJK how to implement this act. Another activities about that triggering like existing regulation. For example, in Banking Act that's mentioned in this year should be there is a UUS unit usaha syariah, the Islamic bank window should be spin off or they should sell their asset to others. So this is the trigger of the policy making in OJK. And after that, then the Board of Commissioners usually declare their vision, mission, and 5-year strategy and roadmap, and also the derivative of the roadmap is the annual plan. So this is the way OJK make a policy and how research can be supported to make a policy can be based on evidence or based on the research itself. So I also will introduce our department in OJK, that we have OJK Institute, that we have two main mandate. First, to produce, to deliver research in the point to support OJK policy. Secondly, to have a capacity building program to industry. So in the point of in the aspect of the research, OJK Institute make as a coordinator, also conducting research and coordinator with other research unit, for example, in banking supervision, in capital market supervision, in insurance supervision, or in education and customer protection wings. Then when we conduct research, we deliver in 3 ways. It means OJK conducting by ourselves, it means in-house research, and also we make a collaboration with other parties, like with university, with international organization and others. Also, we, as a part, also engaging with the society. We also have a call for papers annually. So this is the way how OJK put research to support the policy in every stages, in pre, in initial, in mid, and post. Next slide, please. So this is probably my last presentation, because another is already explained by other previous speakers. This is some example that when we make a policy, there is a research before, like spin-off policy, before we propose to government to, when we develop Undang-Undang P2SK, P2SK Act, that we think, based on our research, spin-off is become not necessary, because the performance of UUS or Islamic Sharia windows is not as good if they still become Islamic banking windows. And also, we are conducting research about merger, acquisition, and consolidation to give a recommendation to our Board of Commissioner how should we treat financial sector now. The third aspect is like what we are concerned about, the social function and also financial inclusion. For example, last year we have in the last 2 years we have a research collaboration with universities to explore the potential of social finance in Indonesia and how can be supported by Islamic banking institution in Indonesia. Also, another challenging, also we conducting research on halal industry, how we treat new generation, Gen Y and Gen Z. Also, we are conducting research about how climate finance or insurance affect our Islamic finance industry. Also, another thing is about digital finance product. So, Prof. Radit, I think this is my sharing about the research based policy. Hopefully, we have fruitful discussion later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bapak Dr. Edi Setiawan. Alhamdulillah, all three speakers have been presented their view with regard to policy orientations, research in their experience from their respective institutions. Now we move into the second agenda, which is question and answer sessions. So as I said, that you may raise your hand for those of you who would like to raise, who ask a question, or you may write down in the chat box. Please do so. Feel free to raise the questions. Okay, there is questions in the chat box. So okay, let me try to read, and then okay. There's a question from Ramdhani. The question is directed to Bapak Dr. Rifki Ismail. Yeah. Okay. Challenges in standardizing a product are not only acceptable to all stakeholders, but also political will. What do you think about this one? You may directly answer, Bapak Dr. Rifki.
Thank you so much, Prof. Radit, and also for the colleagues who asked about this question. Firstly, what do you mean by standardization? Because is it standardization of halal product or standardization of financial market instrument? Let me assume that you are asking about standardization of Islamic financial market instrument. For example, sukuk. There is attention of the world. Yeah, there is attention of the world to have a standard sukuk, for example. Who is having this intention? IIFM, International Islamic Financial Market, IFSB, Islamic Financial Services Board. We tend to have a standard sukuk issuance, a standard sukuk product. But if you ask me, what do you think about that? Of course, having a standard product of Islamic financial market is good for the case of we are having a standard model, a standard operation, a standard pricing, standard trading in a financial market. But in fact, I'm saying to you, in fact, it is not easy to standardize Islamic finance product. It doesn't mean that we are not in line each other. No, because interestingly, I'm saying because of my previous experience in IFSB, yeah, standardizing something among countries which have different school of thought, it is not easy. Yeah. One example. Last year, we tried to issue, finally we issued already a standard on, what is it? Islamic banking surveillance. Yeah. What is the standard for surveillance in Islamic banking? There is a suggestion from our colleagues in Malaysia about a buy-al-dayan contract. Because in Malaysia, buy-al-dayan is allowed. We communicated this with our Sharia board, our IPSB Sharia board, and they said it is not acceptable. But we explained to the Sharia board, His Excellency Sheikhna, this contract is applicable by our colleagues in Malaysia and other countries. But they said, no, based on our fiqh or school of thought, still is not acceptable. So we explained to the colleagues, sorry, based on the explanation from us to our Sharia board, your suggestion is not acceptable. So it doesn't mean that we are having a different school of thought, no. But in some practices, yeah, like in Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, Saudi, we have different operation, we have different approaches. Yeah. So having standardization is good, but it's not easy. That's the first answer. Secondly, we try to standardize whichever aspect that we can standardize. But those who are not standardized, those who are very specific, very unique to the countries, we leave it to the jurisdiction of countries, whether they allow or they disallowed. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Bapak Rifki Ismail. And I see here there's one participant who raised questions. If possible, you open your camera. It's Safrina Mahfud. Can you hear me, Sister Safrina? you're still mute, and please, if possible, open your camera. Thank you. Hello?
She is our student in Erlangga, Prof. Radit.
Yes.
Because it's like 4 a.m. I'm not ready to open my camera. Is it okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Safrina.
Okay. Thank you. This is, I think, is for everyone, other from the OJK or Pak Rifki Ismail from the EFSP.
Introduce yourself, Safrina.
Oh yeah, my name is Safrina Mahmoud, and I'm at the moment is the PhD student from Erlangga University, but I also a visiting PhD student from Warwick University, UK. At the moment, I'm actually doing my research in the Warwick University, and then I have difficulty of looking for the Islamic Finance Development Index. The Cambridge, I think the Cambridge launched the Islamic Finance Development Index. But then, obviously my supervisor said this is not a credible source. So I was wondering why either EFSB or OJK doesn't release the Islamic Finance Development Index, or at least something that we can trust, because the Islamic finance has been progressing, but at the same time, the measurement of the progress, it's not something that we can, all agree on. So this is what I have problem with. I was wondering why the OJK or the FSB or any government, particularly Indonesian government, doesn't release the Islamic Finance Development Index or something, like numbers or information that we can think that this source is credible, instead of putting to like any institution or commercial institution release this kind of data, which from my supervisor's point of view, sees that it's not credible, so that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, Safrina, maybe just want to follow up his question is that if in the Basnas, Badan Amil Zakat Nasional, they have index Zakat Nasional, and in Badan Wakaf Indonesia, they have index Wakaf Nasional. Why don't other regulators create the same thing in order to see the development, the progress from the previous years, and then that can be the evaluations, what need to be done in particular aspect within the constructions of the index. I think this question is directed to all the presenters here, Pak Rifki and Pak Edi.
Yes.
Pak Rifki,
thank you.
You may go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. Radit. If we want to know or want to, for example, understand why doesn't Indonesia have Islamic Finance Index, for example? Firstly, when we say it Islamic Finance Index, Islamic finance itself belongs to various jurisdictions, various authorities, various stakeholders. It has to be a product of Indonesia Islamic finance stakeholders. Cannot be coming from Bank Indonesia itself or OJK itself, because every single authority has its own mandate, has its own area of responsibilities. And then secondly, we need to identify what type of sub-index that we want to measure. And then what is the purpose of the index? Because producing index will give a significant impact, not only to Indonesia, but also to abroad. They may face, Indonesia is having only a low Islamic Development Index, for example, Islamic Finance Development Index. It will give, or it will create a reputation risk for Indonesia. I'm not saying that it is impossible to have. It is possible, but we need to have a strong commitment from domestic stakeholders of Islamic finance to create one Islamic Finance Development Index, because the consequence of having this is not really simple or very, as simple as producing the index. No, it is a very serious one. And then it can be a measure for the development of Islamic finance in Indonesia, which belongs to all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Rifki. Pak Edi, you want to add some more?
Yeah. Basically, I agree with Uda Rifki, according to rationale why we do not have like finance development index yet. Yeah, so we need to discuss first with Indonesia, with governments, yeah, as well as with us, because this is like not only economic considerations but also political consideration. Yes, but I think we should give appreciate to the Basnas and Badan Wakaf Indonesia also starting, yeah, Pak Rifki, yeah, to issue the index, and also they are also actively in international. Because if we are talking about index, that means we also thinking about comparability with others. Yeah. Otherwise, the index is not become very local, not on so the in the global level. Maybe Rifki can say how the role of IOSP, for example, is bigger picture in the global Islamic finance. Yes.
Thank you, Pak Edi. Pak Rifki,
Actually,
you want to
yeah,
add?
Pak Radit. Actually, Bank Indonesia produces index of Islamic economic literacy, and OJK also produces Islamic banking index, right? Literacy index.
Literacy and inclusion. Here we have.
Inclusion.
Is it a regular research
It is
announced to the
annual.
public? Okay.
Right, annual, ya, Pak Edi.
Yeah, in OJK for 3 years. So we already have 3 period, and very surprisingly, yeah, that for the last literacy and financial index in Indonesia can be like anomaly, yeah, Pak Rifki, because
yes, true.
Overall, the inclusion and literacy is increased, the index in Indonesia, but for Islamic finance, yeah, is in the literacy, yeah, in the literacy is decline, but in inclusion rate increase. So it's very interesting to make research why it happened. Yeah, in general, Islamic finance literacy and inclusion is also still below international level, but also there is a little bit anomaly there, because the Islamic finance literacy is decline, but the inclusion is increased. So yes, this year one of our topic research to see why what happened in here is because of the our strategy is wrong or other factors. Yeah, very interesting.
Thank you, Pak Edi Setiawan. Okay, we move to the the next question. Anyone who wants to raise questions, raise hand. If not, then I'll maybe the organizer can slide sharing the question raised by the participants in the chat box. If not, then I will read. Okay. There is a questions from Leah. I'm a student. If I want to research about public policy, the first step, when decide the topic. Okay, when decide the topic. Maybe what decide the topic. Yeah, should I know our political will or just do my research without knowing political will and only see what our society needs? So policymaker will consider it, because when I decide the topic, I start from literature review of versus research, and that specific political will different with us. Ini question to Pak Edi nih. Tapi boleh juga nanti Pak Rifki, if you want to add some more, please welcome. Go ahead, Pak Edi, silakan.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are talking about public policy, is talking about the role of the policymakers. So we cannot hinder. If we make a research about public policy, we should assess the political aspect. Let's say in current situation when we are close to the general elections, yeah. So it's many aspects we have to consider when we are making public policy research. But yes, definitely when we are making research in public policy, we should consider about the political aspect. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Edi. Maybe Pak Rifki, you want to add some more?
Thank you, Pak Radit. What do we say as a political will can not only can not always be a negative aspect. For example, what do we know about a political will of Indonesia regarding Islamic finance? Indonesia, when we develop Islamic finance, we focus on not only Islamic finance, but also halal industry nowadays. So our political will is to develop not only Islamic finance or in institution itself, but also the industry, even ecosystem. Even right now, if you read from the newspaper, we promote Islamic lifestyle. Now, none of the countries, so far as I know, declares that they are having a slogan, having a passion to promote Islamic lifestyle. No, except Indonesia. So this is Indonesian political will. That's Indonesian political will. Yeah, we want to promote Islamic lifestyle, meaning life is everything, not only food but also everything: marriage, social interaction, education, everything. So that is the political will of Indonesia. We need to understand that one. What about other countries? For example, Malaysia, their political will is to foster Islamic finance sector. That's why the market share of Islamic bank in Malaysia is, I think last time what I know based on their publication is 42%. The market share of Islamic bank in Malaysia, 42% compared with Indonesia. Can you imagine? Because of what? Because their patient is in Islamic banking. We also have a fashion on Islamic banking, but not always Islamic banking, but also even larger than Islamic. So we need to understand political will as from the positive side, not always from negative side. Thank you, Prof. Radit.
Thank you, Pak Rikrisma. Okay, the next questions from Fauzia, PEBS UI. Pak Edi and Pak Rifki, majority of policies in Indonesia are ex post regulatory impact evaluations. Ex ante evaluation were so minimal. Why do you think the implementation of RIA, regulatory impact assessment for ex ante policy evaluation in Indonesia, has been very minimal? While on the other hand, RIA, ex ante policy evaluation, has been extensively used worldwide, especially in developed countries. Do you think the signal that some, if not most, the policy in Indonesia were not evidence-based, research-based policy? Okay, who wants to answer first, Pak Rifki or Pak Edi?
Maybe Pak Edi first.
Pak Edi.
I will allow my senior first.
Silakan Pak Edi.
Yeah. Okay. It's about ex ante evaluation. This is very important, especially for long-term policy. Yeah. As I mentioned in my presentation, that we should evaluate even still in the beginning. Yeah. For example, when we ask bank to implement sustainable finance in Indonesia, in the very early stage, that we make evaluation about their response. I mean, the bank response, their perception to this policy. So if we conduct this research, that we can predict what the behavior of the banking when they implement, or is there any willingness from the financial industry to implement the policy. So it's very important, not only ex post, but also ex ante regulatory impact assessment. Yeah, I think it's very, very important. And yes, not much. Yeah, not much. Our previous research focus on this area. They focus on the ex post regulatory impact assessment. But in my point of view, it's very important to make a research even in the very beginning of the implementation of policy, especially when we are talking about long-term policy, and make a behavior change of the industry. But for short-term, yeah, of course, it's very difficult. But for the long-term, I think we can. Yeah, this is my answer.
Thank you. Go ahead, Pak Rifki.
Thank you, Pak Radit. Thank you. Pak Edi has listened my effort to answer the question. What do you say as a minimum is minimally known by the public? Because for sure, regulators do a thorough assessment, ex post and ex ante. I precisely know this because I was from Department of Islamic Banking before, the one that Pak Edi was there. Also now and still in Bank Indonesia. So regulators for sure conduct ex post and ex ante assessment, including what do you say, regulatory impact assessment. Because of what? I give you example. When my department, for example, we want to propose something. Let's say cash out link sukuk, because I was I involved in the beginning of this project. It is a joint project between Bank Indonesia, Badan Wakaf Indonesia, and then Ministry of Religion, and then OJK as well. I think Ministry of Finance as well. Yeah, some authorities are involved. When we propose this project to our internal institution, for sure the board, what do I say, as the board of commission or board of governor may ask us, have you do a thorough research on this? Yes, Excellency. What is your assessment? Are you only mapping or you calculate? We calculated, Excellency. It is a standard FSB. We say Excellency to board. Yeah. Board of governor, we say yes, Excellency. We did thorough research. What did you do? We did survey. We did focus group discussion. We calculate. We make simulation from the previous. And what do you expect from the future? Will there be an investor to invest in cash out link sukuk? So if we issue this cash out link sukuk, but in fact there is no investor, we are going to be killed. I can say that, to be honest, it's not an easy. Working in the regulators, Allahu Akbar, it's not an easy. If we propose something, if we produce something, we need to be very responsible. We need to assess the previous fact. We need to benchmark. We need to do assessment, not only assessment, very simple and more, a very comprehensive assessment, because regulators cannot do something wrong. You need to remember that. Regulators cannot do something wrong. Can you imagine if regulators take a decision, produce regulation, but it is a wrong regulation? The impact will be to the country. Very dangerous, very dangerous. That's why we internally, me, Pak Edi, and Pak Hidayat Amir, when we propose something, when we create something, we need to be very responsible. Not only ex post, ex ante assessment, beyond that one. And we need to be very responsible from the beginning until the ongoing one of the project or of the instrument. But maybe not all of the process are being disclosed to the public. We cannot open all the process to the public, and then public may see that, why don't you do this one, don't you have this one? We did internally, but not to be disclosed to the public. Thank you, Pak Radit.
Yeah, Pak Rifki, there's an interesting explanation just now, Pak Rifki. But since there is no more questions, I would like to continue with regard to the things which cannot disclose to the public by the regulations. But would it be possible if, of course, I understand the confidentiality, yeah. For that one, keep it confidence. But other things which is the society has to learn, please disclose it. So this is important because I compare based on my experience, Pak Rifki, and then I need your comments. Yeah, I study wakaf and I study also the suku. I study the saham, and I found that in Malaysia there is in Johor Bahru there is a bus terminal which is funded by wakaf saham. Yeah, so this bus terminal, they want to extend the land, and they buy the land and then convert it into wakaf, so that there are many more bus coming and park, and they're so crowded because it's close to Singapore. And I found that there is a prospectus, a relatively thick book about the prospectus. All information is there. Of course, I don't know whether there's a confidentiality or not, but I believe this information is for sure is okay for the society, for the public. I found that I learned a lot about the structure. I learned a lot about why it is needed to have extended parking lot for the bus terminal in Johor Bahru. But when it comes to the case of Indonesia, when I want to look into the one product that is like you have mentioned, cash kafling suku, it's very difficult to find this prospectus because me as the academicians, I only rely on annual report by finance minister or maybe from Badan Wakaf Indonesia, but it's not like what I found in the Malaysia, the complete prospectus about the structure, the link between entities, the explanations, the fiqh, the positive law, and so on and so forth. Can you address on this issue, Pak Rifki?
Yeah, thank you, Vanadit. Uh, if we compare Indonesia and other countries, maybe different countries may have different patient, different decision. For Indonesia, for example, regarding cash out coupling sukuk, I've just had a meeting last night with Minister of Finance because they wanted to issue international sukuk, our Indonesian international sukuk. And we, in the discussion, asked about what are your specific project? We want to know about the project. They said
We
they
have
cannot
international suku, right? Global
Yeah.
suku is international suku.
Our international suku, even the biggest one in the world. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then they said we have, I mean, Minister of Finance said, not Bu Sri Mulyani, but the team. They said we have a list of our project, but we cannot disclose it to the public.
Okay.
Because of what? Because of a reputation risk, one of the reason maybe. And then because it is the authority of Minister of Finance to decide the project, to monitor the project, cannot be known by public regarding specific project that will be financed by Sukuk. Maybe other reason are in the pocket of the ministries, but if we try to understand, maybe as mentioned by Pak Radit as well, not all of the process or all of the project or all of the internal calculation in the authorities are to be known by the public. But if the case of Malaysia, for example, because they position themselves as the world center for Islamic finance, so they need to disclose everything to the public, which is good, of course, which is good. But for the case of Indonesia, we consider other aspects, specifically for the regulators.
Yeah. Okay, understood, Pak Rifki. Okay, we have 2 minutes remaining because according to agenda, it has to be closed or finished at 11:40. So we have like 2 minutes. Okay, let me give a chance for Pak Edi Setiawan and Pak Rifki to have closing remarks. 1 minute, 1 minute. Pak Edi mungkin?
Yeah, thank you very much. OJK is very open to collaborate with the university and others to develop research support our policy, as well as to the, not only for university but also we are every year we have a all for paper program, and the winner of the this event we try to put in the international journal also, so we give positive impact also to the researcher. Basically, we are welcome, but also with Ikatan Ahli Ekonomi Islam also collaborate. There's a lot of issue in Islamic finance and how to booster the Islamic finance in Indonesia to align with the halal industry and other issue. Sustainable development. I think that's all. Thank you very much for Ikatan Ahli Ekonomi Islam to deliver this one also, as well with economy and business tools in Indonesia.
Thank you, Pak Edi Setiawan. Pak Rifki, go ahead. Closing remarks.
Thank you, Pak Radit. I want to say firstly that all of the regulators, because I'm really convinced about this, because I know OJK as well, I know Minister of Finance, we are all colleagues. Yeah, all of our regulation are based on research. We cannot issue something without thorough research as a backup of the regulation. And then when we do research, all of the regulators, we are also open with the involvement of academics shareholders, industry, and so on. Like in Bank Indonesia, every year we have a research grant. So colleagues or team or university which have had a research grant from Bank Indonesia, your product have contributed to the policy base in Bank Indonesia, alhamdulillah. So we really appreciate that. And then we keep open our intention to collaborate with the university, with the stakeholders. Doesn't have to be always university, but any stakeholders, yeah, with what do I call? IAEI. It's simple to say in Bahasa Indonesia, IAEI. But it's difficult in English, yeah. We also open with the collaboration with IAEI and also with MES, for example, and other stakeholders. Thank you, Pak Radit.
Thank you, Pak Rifki and Pak Edi. Just a brief, very, very last summary of all that has been presented by all three presenters is that this activity, Prime Conference, the expectation is to get the paper which is very significant for the regulators, for the policy by regulators. So for those of you who are here today, please do write a paper, very good paper. Later on, when it is accepted, you will meet the regulators. You can discuss your paper. And this is, of course, it will be advantageous for you to have a thorough discussion face-to-face with the regulators. But start with your very good writing on your paper. It has been mentioned by all the presenters is that it has to be solving the current concern of the government. So there is the key points that we can take out from this morning up until afternoon session. And I think this is the last session as well, yeah. Thank you very much once again, Pak Edi Setiawan and Pak Rifki Ismail. Let's close this conference with Alhamdulillah bersama-sama. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I return back to the master of ceremony.
Thank you, Pak Radit.
Terima kasih, Pak Rifki.
Terima kasih udah kapal kopi darat nih.
Iya, Mas Edi.
Pak Radit juga.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Edi. Insya Allah nanti.
Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih semuanya.
Mohon pamit.
Ya, silakan MC. Ya.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hidayat Amir, Dr. Rifki Ismail, Dr. Edi Setiawan, and also our moderator, Professor Aditya Sukmana, for such enlightening remarks and fruitful discussion. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brother and sister, we've heard and hopefully internalized today's session on how to enhance contribution through impactful policy-oriented research, especially on the development of Islamic economics and finance. On behalf of committee, I would like to also thank Indonesian Association of Islamic Economics, IAEI, and Center for Islamic Economics and Business, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, for organizing this event as well. We're waiting your extended abstract submission only until 28th of February 2023. For more details, info about Prime, you can visit our website at www.prime-iaei.org. My name is Afida, and the organizing academy's behalf, I would like to thank all the attendees for your great enthusiasm and engagement throughout this event. You can fill the link of attendance that given by the committee on the chat box Zoom to get your e-certificate. If you are missing the earlier part of today's session, it will be available on IAEI YouTube channel at IAEI TV. We thank you all for making time to join us today. Stay safe and healthy, and I wish you all a very good afternoon from here in Jakarta. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih semuanya, Pak Rifki.
Terima kasih, Pak.
Ya, Pak Edi.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Ya, ini juga Mas
Sehat
Wahyu,
selalu
Afida.
Assalamualaikum.
Ya, izin dulu. Pamit.